We haven't even had the opening ceremony yet, but the Olympic Games are underway, and that's what dominates tonight's episode of The Punter. You're watching Sports Tonight. I'm Trevor Harris. Russ Wiseman is here from Sporting Bet. How are you, Russ?
Great form, Trev. Looking forward to it again.
A slight smile, I see. Has that got anything to do with the fact that Spain, massive odds-on favourites to beat Japan, lost?
One word for you, Trev. Sweet. Sweet. That's the only thing you could say about that. I mean, we'll talk about this as the Olympics evolves, Trev. But very small business before the match. Massive business in play. That's going to be the theme of this Olympics, certainly where the football's concerned. Punters taking stock of what happens in those first few minutes and then playing all the way. And of course, what they did today was back Spain all the way until the final whistle. Terrible result for punters, great result for bookmakers, no question about that at all.
Did you have any money for the Japanese at all?
Pretty much nothing. And when I say nothing, I think literally in the hundreds of pounds, no money at all. As the game evolves, of course, you see the good traders coming in and we're backing them at 2 to 5, 4 to 11 with just a few minutes to go. But frankly, it was all about Spain. Even the draw was a loser for us in this game. Great result. Over 2.5 goals as well backed. Trevor half time is when the Japanese went a goal up as well. So
it's your benevolent fun today, isn't it?
It's a great result. It's a wonderful way to start. If we can keep the tournament like this, it'll be wonderful. But what it shows as well is the power of this in-play betting. Where the Olympics are concerned, people are going to be listening to the likes of yourself. They're going to be forming opinions as the game develops. That's when they'll step in. I don't think we'll see much pre-match money in this tournament, but it will be in play.
And of course, it has implications because this game was kind of sets a trend, and we've had some fancied sides involved already today. We saw Uruguay earlier, and of course, England start off tonight. And we spoke about it yesterday, and we kind of persuaded you, didn't we, Chris and I, after a while, that maybe England are opposable. I actually think, we'll go across to the bet butler in a minute, but I actually think this game tonight, when Senegal are about 9-2, I think, commonly available, not with just one layer, commonly available, I think that's just plain wrong.
Well, I mean, people have followed what you and Chris Graham said last night. I mean, generally, that's the view. They're tending to side with Senegal. Of course, most punters, I believe, when they get in from work tonight, they settle down, open a can of Heineken or whatever. They'll probably want to be involved with England, with Great Britain. Let's be honest about that. That's the way that most punters think. They'll want to cheer on Great Britain, especially with this opening ceremony only 24 hours away now. The euphoria of this will certainly take hold, I think. But you know, let's be under no illusion here. England, Great Britain, I should say, not really well fancied at all for the tournament. Most of the pros going against them at the moment. They're going to have to deliver if they want to be involved. But again, I can't stress this enough. In play is where the action will be, and I do think that Senegal will be value come kick-off.
All right, well, let's just check exactly what the odds are. This is Great Britain v Senegal. Kicks off literally as we come off air tonight at 8 o'clock, and we can say good evening to the bet butler. Nigel Seeley has all the odds. Nigel.
Good evening, guys. I mean, it's been a fantastic start for the bookmakers and not so great for us punters. But tonight we have the conundrum. Do we get involved in Great Britain, take the short price and cheer on the boys, or do we have a few quid where the value lies on Senegal? And I think the latter makes appeal. I really do. If I was a bookmaker, I'd be sitting in Sporting Bet Towers or wherever else, and I'd be saying, come on back Team GB with me, because I don't think they're going to win this. 8-13 you can get Team GB. Now, I believe that price will get bigger and bigger and bigger come kick-off time, because exactly what Russ is saying. I think that there will be very small amounts being bet on this game. So I think if you do fancy Team GB, wait till the last couple of knockings before the matches, before the teams come on, because this price will be getting in, because these bookmakers aren't seeing anything pre-match and they want your readies. So this 8-13 won't be going, the whistle going bigger and bigger and bigger come mid-off time. Then, what you have in the first 10-15 minutes, you'll see that everybody taking an opinion, and that is where I think Senegal will show they're very strong. I think the African teams in the Olympics have always been up for these competitions, and I think this is where the value lies. Here, the draw 11-4 and 9-2 on Senegal, and at the two of them combined, I'll be laying them around getting about 6-5 to 2. I think that's where I want to be. I want to be taking on Team GB. But if you want to do back these boys, wait till last minute, because as Russ has said there, they're not seeing any money pre-match, so they want to get this. They want to get your readies on these, and the value will lie right before kick-off, because they'll go enticing price to entice you in. But I don't think they're going to be big enough, and I still think Senegal represent great value. And I think tonight it's this trend of the underdogs doing very well so far in the football competitions, and I think Senegal could be the value again with you, Trev. 9-2 Senegal.
Yeah, I mean, I can well understand that a lot of you at home won't know too many of the Senegalese team, but I can tell you who is playing for them. Ibrahima Boulde, who's been linked with Villa. He's at Osasuna. He's an excellent player. Mohamed Diame at West Ham, you'll know. Magai Gay at Everton, you'll know. I mean, these aren't no names. These are very solid professional footballers.
Yeah, very, very much so. And of course, they've got a tradition and a history of good tournament play, Senegal.
Yeah.
They can come and qualify for big tournaments and do well in those tournaments. As you know, Trevor, literally puts a pain in my stomach to agree with the butler, but Nigel is bang on as usual. He's got a good feel for this tournament. You can tell already. It is about attracting money pre-match if we can, and that price about the Great Britain will only get bigger and bigger. I think that's the time to step in, literally just before kick-off. But we're talking about Senegal here, a highly competent outfit. They'll be well drilled, and we haven't seen anything in terms of pre-match activity yet for Great Britain, and certainly in that game in Brazil, to believe that they can just break a team down and take them to the cleaners. I think it's a great night to be a bookmaker again, and the way this tournament's set up is very tight games, not many goals being conceded. I don't see Great Britain steamrolling this Senegal side at all.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting to me is that we didn't see, according to most bookmakers, a lot of patriotic money for England during the Euros, but we seem to be seeing patriotic money for Great Britain during the Olympics.
Yeah, slightly different, but again, I take your point. I mean, I think most people have seen enough of England in those big tournaments to believe that they can play this international style of football, keeping the ball. Unfortunately for Great Britain, I believe this tournament's going to be on the same kind of footing. It's about possession, securing the ball, securing possession, lots of passing, making sure you've got possession. And we're just not very good at that, are we? I think with all the support and all the momentum behind them, that might be their best chance. But these are no mugs, Senegal. And as you mentioned, we've already seen Uruguay in action here. Some quality outfits in this group. There is potential for possibly Great Britain to get knocked out of the group stage, as we pointed out last night.
We haven't got confirmed team news yet, but I'm hearing that I keep saying England, I should say Great Britain, so it sounds so odd. Corker and Richards likely to be the centre halves. Midfielding will include Giggs, obviously, Joe Allen and Cleverley, and probably Bellamy and Sturridge up front. What's the market on the correct score, Nigel? I mean, can you see goals in this match or not?
I can't see goals. I can't see GB goals, that's for sure. I mean, we saw them play against Brazil. I know it was a very good Brazilian side, but they never looked like having one chance, let alone scoring a goal. And the likes of Bellamy and Sturridge can't for me. I think you've got to think about Senegal. I mean, look at their history. They've gone to play France when they're defending world champions in the World Cup, and they've done a number on them. I mean, this side won't be overawed by Great Britain at all. I'm at the same as you. I'm killing them England as well. I think we have to have a swear box, an England box. Every time we say England, we put a pound in. I think we'll have a lot of money in there. But I tell you what, GB here the favourites: 11-2, 1-0, a 2-0 win 7-1, a 2-1 15-2, and 3-0 14-1. I mean, come on, we're not going to win 3-0 tonight. I really don't think this is. But if they are going to win, they'll take a 1-0. But what you see in the first games here, very similar to the old World Cups. Not like what you see in the Euro Championship just gone. They're very, very tight games. And low-scoring goal games come in. I wouldn't be surprised to see this being a bore 0-0 draw. I mean, I think this here at 9-1 represents the great value. But always, as I say to anyone who's new to betting, never back the 0-0, always back the no-goal scorer, because if the guy's bending over and hits him on the bum or hits the back of his head and goes in, you get paid out on the no-goal scorer, because own goals don't count. So always back no-goal scorer on that, so you can get 1-0 on own goal, you've got a chance, a little bit of an edge there. The draw 13-2 and 2-2 20-1, but what we've seen the trend so far is low-scoring games, 0-0 for me the value, and also here, Senegalese chance. If they're going to win it, I think it's going to be 1 or 2-0. I think the thing is about GB is they're going to be very solid at the back. They've got a good goalkeeper in Butland, who was by far the man of the match against Brazil, but it's going forward. They don't look like they can break teams down. I think that you're not going to expect these. They're going to be very physically strong, very, very imposing, and I think if they can do it, they might only nick it by 1-0. And that 13-1, you know, that looks a little bit of value for me as well. So 1-0 Senegal, I don't see a bit that high-scoring game. So for me at the moment, 1-0 Senegal and draw 0-0 looks the value for my end on the correct score markets.
Yeah, interesting. I saw Jack Butland first hand out in Colombia in the summer playing in the under-20s World Cup, and he was brilliant. He got a draw against Argentina single-handedly, saved a penalty. We might need him tonight. I'm curious, Russ, about correct score betting. I mean, is that a big percentage of your market or not really? Because I always think it's difficult to get a correct score.
Yeah, correct score is a volume market, Trev, in terms of the amount of bets placed. You do see plenty of bets for them, but the fact of the matter is you see very few three-figure bets.
They're 10s, 20s and whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a recreational bet. It's certainly one to watch. So it's an entertainment bet, isn't it, really? It's not one with the hard and solid punters will get involved. Yeah. However, there is one scoreline that serious punters do get involved in, and that's the one that the butler just pointed out there. When the conditions are right, when you think the flavour of the game is right, 0-0, or better still, no goal scorer. Very real bets. We even saw a game, would you believe, in the Euros as short as 9-2 and 0-0. So 9-1 tonight, about a tournament game where both sides are playing cagey, does offer great value, and you may see professional money there. But this is a recreational market. It's your 5s, your 10s, your 20s. That's what it tends to be.
It wasn't England-Italy, was it? That short price goal?
It was indeed.
I knew it. I knew it. We're talking about goals. What about the under-overs market? Because Nigel's been having a look at this for us. I'm presuming from what you've said so far, Butler, that you're going under.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, anyone who's been watching the show for the last couple of months or so will know this is my favourite market, the unders, and you also know that is why I have no money in my pocket, because I have absolutely done my proverbials over the years on the under 2.5s, under the 1.5s. But I keep going. I keep going and going and going. I'm like a steamroller. Bang, bang, another monkey done, another 3. I don't know why I do it. But tonight, I think there's a case here. I think under 2.5 goals at 3 to 4, around about your 4 to 5 kind of price. I think that's value. I think the first games are so tight. And when you look at this game, they've got the United Arab Emirates, who they consider to be the weakest of the team. I think they don't think they can win on that. And I think they look at the game against Uruguay as the one that get us through. And I think both teams would be happy for a draw. So for me, under 2.5 goals, the one that's the most even, you look at the prices here, 3 to 10 on, 1 to 4. This is where all the money will be traded. This is where the big punters will come out, as Ross said. Not the quick score on here, but under 2.5 goals. I am not changing my strategy for anyone, Mr. Harris and Mr. Wiseman. I'm going to keep going under 2.5 goals until I get these pockets back full of the readies.
Yeah, we won't kind of hold our breath for that. It's a sort of fairly new market. I mean, in terms of the last 5 or 10 years, never used to be a market on this when I started betting.
Well, funny enough, this is a market now, Trev. I used to work in Singapore on the Asian lines over there, and the butler and I come from a trading background 20 years ago, where this market just started to kind of enter the fray. Yeah. And the view of all traders was you had to be under, and it's very hard to kick that habit, as you see, for both of us. But it's a globally traded market. It's a financial market. There'll be billions of pounds bet on this kind of market in big games across the world. That's how big it is. It's as big as the actual match result itself. So tonight, obviously not on that kind of level, but it gives you an idea, because it's close to even money both sides, 2.5 under or over. You obviously get money flying around on both. Definitely the sway tonight is for the unders, just because of that tight element. So, and with the butler myself, unfortunately, I've got no money either, but we'll both be in it together. It's a good point he makes. It should be tight.
These bookies getting out the begging bowl, I don't know. Well, I hope we've whetted your appetite with the football. If not, tough, because there's more football coming after the break. See you in a minute. Welcome back. You're watching The Punter on Sports Tonight, and we are talking about this evening's game between Great Britain, said it right, and Senegal. I'm a bit concerned where the goals might come from, Russ, because up front we're likely to have Craig Bellamy. I like Bellamy, not the most prolific goal scorer in his career, to be fair. And we've got Daniel Sturridge, who has only recently got over meningitis, and that's not a nice thing, not the ideal preparation, certainly. It doesn't strike me as a team from midfield either that's got a sort of stack full of goals in it. Well, when you mention those two names and the way you kind of pitched it then, Trev, you kind of want to go back to that under 2.5 market and think they want to be under, don't you? Yeah. Because that's a really good point you make. Yeah. I checked with the Sporting Bet guys, the traders, just before coming on air. They're the only two guys backed, actually, for any note for more than... I'm not surprised. More than 100 quid, actually, in total for correct goals, first goal scorers tonight. So that gives you an idea that punters really aren't looking beyond the two front men. Again, it's kind of telling you what punters believe. Tight game, maybe a bit of magic from Bellamy, but like you said, not exactly a guy who's renowned for producing moments of magic. It's more about his unselfish, hard-running play that lends itself to other players. So it looks like the onus is on Sturridge. Big responsibility representing Great Britain. And he had a pretty poor second half of last season. He looked good at the start, and then he just went right off the boil. Seems like his legs just kind of gave way, didn't it? I mean, it's a tough campaign, isn't it, the Premier League? And he'll be one of those players, though, won't he, looking to make his mark very early. Wonderful showcase for these guys. Yeah. A player like Sturridge can really make a name for himself. I'm sure the audiences, the media coverage, such as shows like ours, will be huge for this game. It's a great opportunity for him. He needs to start well, but I think the onus is on him. That's why he's a short price favourite tonight. Yeah, I'm sure the likes of Roberto Di Matteo will be watching, that's for sure. Let's get a price from the butler on the GB top goal scorer. That's assuming we score any goals, Nigel.
Well, funny you should say that. Exactly what I was going to turn around and say. I wouldn't mind a price on us not to score. I really wouldn't. I mean, I don't think that's a massive... I don't think it's a big price. I mean, you probably get around about 50 to 1, maybe something like that. That could be worth a sentimental little bit of a pump, because if we go out, obviously, you know, you pick up the readies. But I totally agree with you guys. I cannot see Sturridge and Bellamy offering the value here. I think Sturridge is out of form completely. Who knows what he's going to be like when he comes back from this meningitis scare. Bellamy, I just don't see any goals for him at all. I can't believe he's one of the players picked over 23. We must get Craig Bellamy. Doesn't make any sense to me. There must be talented players out there. I look at all the other players who have made these teams, and they look world beaters. Craig Bellamy and Ryan Giggs come to the end of their career. I just don't see, and that's why I don't think we're in it to win it. This guy, I think, represents value here. I think Sinclair, I think he's got a massive pace. He could play a forward role. You know, he could play on the wing. They can play him up front. They can play him off a striker. He, to me, looks a bit of value at 6. And Ryan Giggs, I think 10-1 Ryan Giggs is a bet. I mean, if you compare that to Aaron Ramsey, I mean, you're an Arsenal fan, Trev. How many goals Aaron Ramsey scored last year? 1, 2?
I can count them on the fingers of one hand, Nigel, that's for sure.
Between Ryan Giggs and Aaron Ramsey, you know Giggs will take penalties, you know Giggs will take free kicks, you know if there's a sentimental penalty or a free kick, he'll be allowed to take everything. Throughout the competition, it will all be about Ryan Giggs. And I think Ryan Giggs at 10-1 represents the value. My advice to punters is take on the top 2. They have not got goals in them. Sinclair can be an option up front. Sordell won't get enough games. Ryan Giggs should be 10. At Ramsey, you're going to have 100 of me. No chance. No goal scored, 25-1. Probably a little bit too short, but this is no value here. But Ryan Giggs is the man because it's all going to be about Ryan Giggs. You can just see it already. Every penalty, every free kick, Giggsy will be taking them. Yeah,
and of course, that's kind of the void that Beckham would have had if he would have been picked, because he would have taken the free kicks and maybe the pens as well. But I think he's right, isn't he? I mean, there didn't look anything there that I looked at and thought, oh, I must have a punt on that. I mean, Sordell, I think, is quite a promising player. He's just gone to Bolton from Watford. He's probably not going to get a game, shouldn't he?
Well, when Nigel kind of analyses that and then passes on to us, it makes you realise how difficult a market that is. Nothing kind of jumping out off the page. Maybe Giggsy is the one, and like you say, just by supplanting him in that Beckham role, free kicks, set plays, penalties, it gives him an option. But it's very likely that 1 or 2 could possibly win this market. So let's not be under any illusion. It might be it could be anyone.
Yeah.
And then you can start talking about centre halves and all kinds.
Micah Richards could come up and everyone in, couldn't
Going to see some big prices of guys who aren't on that list, who are genuine runners. If it's going to be the tight game that we think it could be, especially with the group looking fairly tight as well.
I think it does look tight. I mean, I'm going to look at our overall goals and looking at the other 2 teams in the group, Uruguay and UAE. UAE impressed me earlier on as well. I think it's difficult to see England scoring a shed loads of goals in their group games, to be quite honest.
Oh, definitely, and certainly UAE have acquitted themselves well today, haven't they? It's Uruguay. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, there are no mugs in this tournament and well-organised, well-drilled teams. Tournament football, I always feel as though is a different animal altogether anyway, and we have to kind of build that into the prices as well. But nothing jumping off the page here. I agree with Nigel to a certain extent. You'd like to believe that maybe a cheeky fiver on the no goal scorer. It's highly unlikely that they won't score, but it's nice to have that as a saver, especially when it's 0-0 tonight at half time and nothing's even happened.
I can tell you, I mentioned it earlier when I watched Jack Butland at the Under-20 World Cup last year. England were the first team in FIFA history, England's Under-17s this is, to draw all 3 games 0-0 in the group, and they went through somehow, and then they lost 1-0 to Nigeria in the last 16. So they actually played 4 games, didn't score a single goal, which maybe indicates why there's a problem with English football, if that's the under-17s. What about our group goals in this tournament, Bet-Butler? How many are we going to get? Not many, probably.
No, not at all, Trevor. And you say that about the under-17. You've got to look at the England national team, how they played in Euro 2012. I mean, they went there very negative. They got the 0-0 they wanted against Italy. There seems to be this belief that we play a 4-4-2 system and we're hard to beat. And it's the same sort of line-up here. 2 goals or less, 5-1. Now, I'm telling you now, that is too big. That is a gift from the gods. Honestly, Mr. Sporting Bet, this is a rick. I tell you why it's a rick, because I think the first game tonight is going to be a 0-0. I think they'll both be happy for a point. We are not going to score against Brazil. That's fact. We're not going to score against Uruguay. I think they'll beat us quite comfortably. I think that'll be 0. And it's all about how many goals we score against the UAE. And what I saw this afternoon, they look a decent outfit as well. So 2 goals or less, getting the 2 goals at 5s. I think, 2 goals or less, not getting the 2 goals. I think that should be a 5-1. But getting the 2 goals, that's tremendous value. 5 or 6 goals, 13-8 favourite. I mean, who's come up with this price? This is the worst price I've seen at the Olympics so far. 5 or 6 goals. We even if we won the competition, we wouldn't score 5 or 6 goals. We would not score 5 or 6 goals if we won it. We'd get to the final, we'd score 4 maximum. 3 or 4, 2-1. This is ridiculous. This is the value. And 7 or more, leave me out. This is the bet. 2 goals or less, 5-1. Get on.
Who said tipping is not an exact science? Because that was just demonstrated perfectly. Can't disagree with too much of it either. And I think the really interesting market we're going to have a look at in a minute is to qualify from this group. Have the likes of Chris, the Butler and me, have we between us managed to persuade you from your initial stance yesterday that, oh yeah, we'll get out of the group, to actually, no, we're rubbish, we won't?
Every single time I arrive at Sports Night Towers, Trev, I have a view, and I walk out with a different view. You have convinced me otherwise. I came in here thinking that 5 or 6 was the national tournament. 32-8. The Butlers just convinced me. No, the Butlers convinced me that. No, I do take your point. I think it's great that we analyse these things. We've gone through it. I have changed my mind on this. I have to say, I think just because you believe that the crowd, the atmosphere, the expectation, maybe these things are pressure for Great Britain, and maybe that'll be the case. And Stuart Pearce actually saw his last interview prior to coming in tonight to do the punter. I have to tell you, didn't really fill me with any confidence at all. He's now talking about people just enjoying themselves and having a great experience. That, to me, is the kind of language of a guy who says we're packing our bags after a couple of games. That's what you say at primary school sports day, isn't it? Not good.
Yeah, no, it's not good. Right, Nige, give us the interesting news, because I bet we're a shortage price to qualify and we shouldn't be.
Absolutely right. And I'll tell you one thing you found out today. You found out that this competition is very, very competitive. The so-called minnows are putting on good shows. And I tell you what, we are a so-called minnow. Don't get me wrong, we're playing against stadiums. So what? Half-packed Emily Stadium with average age of under 7. Really intimidating. That's not going to intimidate these Senegalese people or United Arab Emirates players. They're going to thrive on that. They're going to thrive on that. Home advantage means nothing when there's nobody there. To qualify, Uruguay 2-9. They're the favourites to win the group. They didn't look great shakes for the first half today. They weren't that great. You're at Great Britain 1-3. So not to qualify, bookies are saying about 5-2, 11-4 shot. That is far too short. This patriotic money they're anticipating may not come. Senegal 8-5. Now this is the Rick. These two here, I fully expect Uruguay to qualify from this group, but the difference between Great Britain and Senegal is wrong. 1-3 and 8-5. This should be a lot closer. Great Britain should be around about 8-11, 5-6 to pair to qualify and not to qualify, and Senegal should be around about 6, or maybe about sort of the similar kind of price, 11-10 to qualify, 10-11 not to qualify. United Arab Emirates, got potential, but I don't think they're going to qualify. But Great Britain at 1-3, honestly, and it's for me the players. The 3 overage players, Bellamy, Giggs, Mika Richards, they're not the 3 players you want to pick if you're going to win a competition. You look at the other countries who they picked, Cavani, Coates, Suarez. These are world-class players. If you could pick 3 over... You ask anyone in the street, pick 3 over 23-year-old players you could play for a Great Britain side. If the name Craig Bellamy come out, I will give every single one of them 500 quid.
Yes, right to Nigel Seeley. No, not really. I like what he said there. Home advantage counts for nothing when there's no one there. Hence, QPR struggles in recent years. Sorry, Nige. Very briefly, sorry, Nige. Very briefly, Russ. I think he's quite... That 1-3 is a joke price, isn't it?
Good sense. It's a price that bookmakers have put up there because of the home advantage, which Nigel's basically quashed in that little piece there. And I think it's a reasonable point, but it is difficult to go to Wembley and win if you're an opposing side. Let's not underestimate that, regardless if it's a half full stadium. But the big issue with Great Britain, quite clearly, and the most important issue, quality of players and can they pass the ball with a coach who at the moment isn't exactly inspiring us. 3's on, got to be a laser bookmaker.
Yeah, absolutely. You can watch it straight after us, of course. Now then, when we come back, some moves in the who will light the cauldron market that we don't understand, and some moves in the triathlon market that don't make sense. Back in a minute. Welcome back. You're watching the Punter on Sports Tonight. And this market, as to who is going to light the cauldron, moves again today. All I can tell you for certain is it ain't me. I don't think it's you, Russ, is it?
Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
But there's all these, like today. Yesterday when we spoke, it looks as though Redgrave the rower was nailed on. He's still favourite, but now somewhere we've got Roger Bannister come into a shortage price. Harry Potter's come in there. What on earth's going on?
Well, I actually don't understand the way this market is moving around because I'll be honest with you, sportsmen aren't betting on it. It's one of those £5 or £10 markets, as I mentioned before.
You're wet out of it, I think.
I think it's one of those things. But I actually don't understand the way that the moves and the momentum of the moves are happening at the moment. Because obviously we've sold all this money for Redgrave. I think he went as short as 2-5 yesterday.
Big odds on.
Now drifting out again. I'm sure the bottle will give us all the latest. And there are some new names who've kind of entered the fray. I'm not apologising. I don't even know a couple of these guys, so it's very unusual, isn't it? But you'd like to see something unique and different at the moment, you'd still have to bet they'd go safe Sir Roger Bannister or Sir Stephen Redgrave. That's the likely play. Like you say, anything's second best after Muhammad Ali in Atlanta, isn't it? Let's be quite clear about that. Nothing we do will ever be on that kind of level. But maybe the butler could throw a few guys out there who we haven't heard of yet.
Well, I'll tell you what would be hysterical, wouldn't it, if when the big moment arrived, it was actually Seeley who got to do it. I don't think it will be, but who are the bookies like, Nigel, and why? Can you throw any light on this for us?
Seb, I'm busy. I'm doing the punter, mate. Sorry, mate. I can't do it. Cheers, mate. See you, bye. Sorry, mate. I'll just... I'm not really... the thing is about this, and I'll be serious for 2 minutes here. I come on here last time and I saw this market. I've heard rumours that Danny Boyle and the committee, the organising committee, want somebody, a non-athlete, to light the flame. And I'm telling you now, I keep saying it, but I won't rule the Queen out. I really won't. You know, people expect an 83-year-old lady to walk up, whatever she is, walk up. It's not going to happen like that, obviously. But I think a member of the royal family is a big, big runner here. I really, really do. And the negative against Steve Redgrave. And as I was leaving the office tonight, someone would text me for the price for the Queen, and she was 25 to 1. And she was 100 to 1 yesterday, and she's 25 to 1. What they're saying is this Steve Redgrave is too short. A 2 to 5 touch, 2 to 5. It got very, very short. He's come out and said he's never ever, he hasn't been asked to do it. He doesn't expect to be asked to do it. And if he was going to be asked to do it, he would be doing it now. Roger Bannister's been a big mover. Some firms went odds on. So Roger Bannister today was 5 to 6. Very, very briefly, he's gone back out to 5 to 2. David Bond, Harry Potter. I mean, this is the interesting one. He's 10 to 1, come from nowhere. He's going to walk up there and go, oh, incendio, and get the old light going. I can't have Harry Potter whatsoever. I don't know where he's come from. I really can't. I mean, he's come from Hogwarts, we know that, but I can't have him on the mind getting out there. But the thing is, for me, Steve Redgrave is obviously not going to do it because they've snubbed him because the price has gone to 5 to 4. And I think this rumour that a non-Olympian athlete is going to do it. So suddenly everyone's names come up. You know, David Bond, Harry Potter. I think it's a market you could ring up now and you could say, what price, Trevor Harris? And you would be in it at 16 to 1. They'd put you in, Trev. You could do it. We could do it. We could see it tonight. We could ring 3 people up and we could say, what price, Trevor Harris? Oh, he must know something. 16s. You'll be favourite by the end of the night if we put 100 quid on this, I'll tell you.
I'm honoured that you think of me in that way, Nigel. David Bond, I believe, is one of the BBC sports correspondents. That's just totally weird. Wow. It does appear that no one knows much because these odds keep chopping and changing. One night someone's big move, then they're out again, someone else big move. I don't think anyone knows.
Well, I will say one thing, Trev, and Nige just give it a lovely little piece there. But I mean, it's actually got us excited now, isn't it? I think everybody's now. I mean, really is genuinely exciting now. Whoever it is, they've done a great job of keeping this under wraps. I mean, there's all kinds of rumours that Danny Boyle's put together an extravagant show, the likes of which we've never seen before. That'll be fabulous in 24 hours. But you still believe that probably it will be Redgrave or Bannister. However, Butler makes a great point here. If Steve Redgrave is trading at 5 to 4 now, and you can back that with a bookmaker, that tells me it's not him. It really should be out now that it's going to be Redgrave. It's almost too safe.
Do you think it has been decided? I presume it must have been.
Surely. Yeah. I mean, I'd have imagined.
No one's going to get a call tomorrow. Can you pitch up in a couple of hours?
Well, I don't think Daily Thompson's going to. Yeah, that's right. Well, you never. But isn't it wonderful to think that it is such a fascinating market? This because you can make anyone you like the favourite with 3 phone calls, 3 log-ons, and any betting company, and probably about 150 quid's worth of bets. You can make anyone the favourite. So that tells me it's great fun.
All right. Well, so the bookies know nothing about that market, and I'll tell you another market they know very little about. Is the triathlon market. Not because there's any mystery about it. I'll talk to Russ in a minute about sort of general stuff in terms of why bookmakers are susceptible in these kind of markets. But first of all, let's just get the odds, and then I'll explain why some of them are wrong. But I think you got the men's first. Have you outrights?
Yeah, we've got the men's first here. I know this is a sport that you feel much about, Trev. You're the expert on this, and you've tipped up the favourite at a much, much bigger price than he's trading now. He was a 7 to 4 show, wasn't he, Alistair Brownlee? Early part of the Punter, we know, 3 or 4 weeks ago. The Punter, Trev tipped it up and said it was a good bet. He's now odds on, and the money's coming for him. I mean, he's still coming for him. And I think this is about the price that you said he would be, and was about, you thought he'd probably even be short of that. 4 to 7 now. His brother there at 5 to 2, and any one of these, big prices. It's a 2-horse race between Brownlee and his brother there. 4 to 7, Alistair Brownlee. He was 7 to 4, tipped up on the Punter by Mr. Harris. And don't want to hear about me on this because I absolutely know nothing. And I'm going to pass you back to the studio over there, where Mr. Harris knows everything about this market.
I tell you what is really sad. I feel sorry for Jonathan Brownlee. it's Alistair's younger brother, because he's the second best triathlete in the world, but not even the best in his own family. There you go. And what really interests me, Russ, and I'll explain this to you what happened. On Sunday, I was in Hamburg. It was the last triathlon before the Olympics, okay? And it was won by a South African called Richard Murray, who was a 25-to-1 shot on that graphic. He's as short as, I've seen him at 12s with some bookmakers. Now, the triathlon that happened on Sunday was what they call a sprint distance, so only half the distance, and most of the best runners, including both the Brownlees, weren't there. They weren't in it because they're still finalising their preparations. And yet, bookmakers have moved markets on both the fixed odds and the spreads in Murray's favour. This tells me they don't really know a lot about it. He ran very well, but he cannot possibly win. He's a duathlete, which means cycling and running. He's a recent convert to triathlon. He'll be a minute and a half minimum behind out the water at the Olympics. He cannot win from there unless there's a massive bike crash up front, which isn't going to happen.
Well, let me shed some light on this, Trev. We don't know anything about it. You are absolutely correct. We do not know anything about that. And I mean, this is why the Olympics is going to be so fascinating from a betting point of view. I spoke to our trader knowing full well we were going to mention the triathlon.
Right.
He knows that you're an expert.
Yeah.
I know you're an expert. His exact words to me before I came on air was, we'd be delighted to break even. This is one of our break-even events. There are so many events in this Olympics where bookmakers are trying to provide a service for all of their clients to bet on where we really don't know. And if we can break even on these kind of things, we're happy with that. Now, you'll very rarely hear bookmakers mention those kind of things. We've got costs to meet, internet, staff, all those kind of things, technical costs. And if we can break even on this, we'd be happy. That tells me that guys like you can probably take us to the cleaners on an event like this.
But if you're happy to break even, it kind of begs the question to me, why are you even trading it in the first place?
Well, it's a competitive game, isn't it, Trev? I mean, this is the Olympics. We want to showcase everything we've got as a betting company. Certainly Sportingbet have done that. We've unveiled everything today, a whole host of specials. There's nothing you can't bet on at Sportingbet today, and that applies, in fairness, to pretty much every bookmaker. But there can be so many guys out there who just want to get out of this with no damage done. And this is the type of event we could be in trouble. For me, I'd be hoping that these Brownlee brothers probably share the same dodgy kebab, or we could back this guy Gomez at 7-1. That's what you want. I mean, if they're that close to each other, a double bout of food poisoning sounds a great shout for the 7-1 chance. But not in all seriousness, though, you know, analysis, knowledge, a bit of tradition in that sport, and you know about it. That really does add to a recipe. I wouldn't have thought you could get big bets on this, but an event of this stature, you will be able to back these guys for decent sizes and cop it if you do.
Okay, so don't back Richard Murray in the men's. There is a must bet in the women's. Before I tell you who it is, let's hear from the bet butler who's got the full list.
Yeah, got the betting here. I mean, if Sportingbet say they want to get out of nothing done on the men's, if they do £2,000 on the women's, they're delighted. This is even harder. I mean, here we go. I absolutely know nothing about these, and I apologise for my know nothing, and my research is not that great. But obviously, Jenkins here at 6-4. She's the favourite here. Finley at 6-1. I mean, there's a few people. It's a much closer betting heat than the men's. I'm intrigued to find out who the one Trevor says is an absolute certainty. It's either the favourite is too short, too big, and he should be 1-5, or he's found one here. But one thing I know is I've got a very, 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 very clued up man out there in the triathlete. He follows it all around the world, and he's texted me this one, Snowsill at 16-1. He said he's an absolute certainty. What do you think about that, Trevor? Am I on a winner?
Actually, no, because Snowsill's not even going to run, and we left it on that graphic just purely to make the point that the bookies don't even know who's in it. She is the reigning Olympic champion, but she's not been selected by the Australian selectors. She had a poor last couple of years. So that just shows you. The one to be on, Nigel, when you can write this down and make notes, Nicola Spirig. If you can get 9-1 about Spirig, that is a phenomenal price. If I was pricing this market, I'd make Jenkins and Spirig joint favourites at about, I don't know, 9-4. That's how wrong they've got it. She's won her last 2 races. They haven't actually come together this season because they've been injured at different times. And here's one of the reasons to impress about Spirig. She won, a couple of weeks ago, the Swiss 5,000 metres national champion. Not the triathlon. She's the fastest 5,000 metre runner, female runner, in Switzerland. Now, OK, they haven't got a massive reputation for distance running, but still, when it's not even a real sport, it's part of what she does. It shows you how good she is. She's won her last 2 races, and as I say, they haven't met, her and Jenkins, in the last year or so. If she comes out the water anywhere close, she will probably win. Jenkins, I think, is way, way too short. So I hope you've taken notes on that.
I'm just getting on. Just keep talking for a bit. It's a nice one, man. But what a great point you're making here. This is why this is so perfect for the Olympics here. Guys with intense knowledge who can actually kind of factor that into betting. It really there's probably other sports as well, Trevor.
That's what I'm just thinking as I'm talking to you, guys that know about trampolining and handball and beach volleyball and all these things, shooting.
It's an incredible opportunity, and I suppose it's down to people like us to find those guys like yourself about the triathlon who really know that stuff. But bookies will be running scared of this stuff. I mean, and certainly that could become a wholesale gamble now you mentioned it as well.
I'm just wondering, I mean, is this like rocket science, that rather than get your slightly overworked athletics guy to price up all these markets, would you maybe not consider giving someone a call at, I don't know, Triathlon Weekly or Trampolining Monthly and saying, right, just a bit, they might not know odds, but they'd give you an idea who they thought were, and you could maybe base a market around that rather than maybe guessing a bit?
I can tell you how it's worked at Sporting. We have outsourced some of the markets to a few people, and we've also allocated it to some of the other guys who've had to work hard over the last few weeks, some of the junior traders as well. And Nigel will be able to confirm this. We're giving away secrets to the industry here, but with junior traders are still learning the game. They may not quite know what's going on. But again, I just think we're trying to service everybody, and when you do that, when you do too much work, you obviously leave the door open occasionally, slightly ajar, and I think that's what's happened here with the triathlon with you.
Okay.
With that.
Well, we will be back in sort of Nigel Seeley's comfort zone when we return, because we'll be talking arrows, because the darts continues up in Blackpool. We'll see you in a moment. Hope you're enjoying this episode of The Punter on this Thursday evening. You're watching Sports Tonight, and having covered the Olympics, football, triathlon, cauldron lighting, the sport in vogue, we're going to talk about darts, because this World Matchplay at the Winter Gardens up in Blackpool came alive last night. 9-darter from Van Gerwen. Am I sort of imagining it, or there seem to be more 9-darters now than there ever used to be?
Well, you're not imagining it, Trev, because there are, and that's because the standard is just so sensational now. And as we mentioned last night, we've got this deep crop of players who, frankly, on their day, you'd probably think of 30 players who on their day can pretty much beat anybody. So Van Gerwen is certainly in that group. I mean, he's a guy who's promised so much, delivered very little. Like a lot of these Dutch guys, the Klassen is another one who's faded away. But all of a sudden, maybe now, Michael Van Gerwen has kind of found the secret, found the formula. If he does, he can catch fire, but for me, he's always delayed because he's always likely to blow up. But 9-darter, you can't argue with it. 10 to 1, another 9-darter. I'm hearing they're going in this tournament. So, but I mean, you're right, and it used to be the old days, like maybe only the world number 1 or 2 ever threw a 9-darter, but now almost anyone can do it. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, again, you look at the players left in this tournament now, and we're going to see the betting from the Butler in a minute, and obviously Phil Taylor is going to dominate everything, but there are plenty of guys who can go all the way here. We've seen the likes of Dave Chisnell go all the way. We've seen these kind of players who just hit some sort of form. Maybe it's Van Gerwen's week now, for example, but there's plenty of guys left now, I still think, who could throw a 9-darter. Not only that, go on and kick on and win this thing.
Well, obviously, Barnevelt was upset last night by Terry Jenkins, all sorts happening. And Van Gerwen now plays James Wade, who was pretty impressive last night. So the whole kind of outright betting has just moved a little bit, and the Butler can tell us exactly how it stands at the moment.
Yeah, I know. I've just been on that break. Just been getting my subscription for Trampolining Weekly. I just got it, so I'm looking forward to that arriving in the post. Anyway, just this now. Listen, forget about now. We're talking proper sportsmen. We get the triathletes now. We got Andy Smith, the Pie Man. Hey, proper sport now. They should be in the Olympics. I want the Pie Man in the Olympics, lighting the flag and bringing it in Pieman and Ronnie Baxter. That's what we want in the Olympics. The next Olympics, darts should be in it. Anyway, I love the Winter Guards. When I was a PR manager for Stan James, I was there every year. Absolutely loved it. I can't remember much about it though, but it was a good time there. But this is the one market here. I mean, Phil Taylor. We mentioned him on the show. I think Russell back you up here. This guy has cost more money to the bookmaking industry over the years than anybody else. And every time we get a tournament, someone says, you know what? I think we could take this Phil Taylor and get him beat. Was he 14 times world champion? He's won this competition 6 times. But you know what? This time, I think you want to take Phil Taylor. I think he could get beat. I really do. He wasn't in great form at all against Mervyn King last night. The other night, Mervyn King had him on the ropes. He just didn't put him away. He lost 10-8, but he still averaged 103. And any other player, you'd turn and say, brilliant. But for Taylor, he didn't look at his game. He missed a lot of doubles. He's 3-4 favourite. And the reason why, he's got an easy match next round. Then he's got an easiest match bound. But he could lose his number 1 ranking. And I think the bookies have got him there at 3-4. And they're saying, we're not so sure. We want to take him on, but we're not quite sure. That's a price there that is saying to you punters, do you want to be with Phil Taylor or do you want to be against him? I think you could get beat. You can beat him this round. I think you've got a chance to take on this competition. 80 Lewis 2 times world champion, 4-1, absolutely superb. Jackpot's been flying. 10-0 drubbing of Robert Thornton. Looks the man to beat for me. I think he looks, at the moment, he's playing the best in him. Mervyn 16-1. I think James Wade will wipe the floor with him. James Wade looked good. Wade's won this competition before, likes the format. But this man here, Terry Jenkins, 7 finals, never won a final, knocked out Raymond van Barneveld, playing exceptionally well. 33-1 the ball. Oh, bully, I think that's a big price at 33-1. I think that could be some each-way value because I want to take on this Taylor. And if we can get him beat, all these each way look lovely, lovely bets.
They do, don't they? It always intrigues me when there's an odds-on price because odds-on is almost a topic of discussion in itself. My dad used to say odds-on, look-on. I never agreed with that, but some of my mates play at prices like 1 to 10, and I don't agree with that either because I'm thinking, well, if you've got the 10, why do you need the 1? Unless it's like Usain Bolt versus the Butler over 100 metres. But generally, odds-on betting, what would your advice be to punters who can't quite make up whether they should be odds-on punters?
Well, the theory is, Trevor, in all honesty, is that there's a mathematical price for everything, and 10-1 on can be great value. I'm sure the Butler will agree with that. I mean, there are times when I've spoken to really good professional punters who back things at 10s on, 20s on. They've told me it's been one of the best bets they've ever placed in their life. Should have been 100 on. So there's a legitimate price for everything, isn't there? A lot of these things depend on bankroll as well.
That's the point. That's the thing, isn't it? If I'm betting at 10s on, I'm risking 100 to win a tenner. I don't want to be risking 1,000 to win 100. That's the dilemma.
It's a difficult game to support that, isn't it? Really, when you're playing that level, and of course, then if you're going to continue along those lines, you really can't afford a mistake at any point, and that makes it very difficult. Nigel makes a very good point about Phil Taylor. Along with Roger Federer in the last probably dozen years or so, no player, and Tiger Woods probably as well, no player's consistently taken more money off us. And it's because we keep putting our necks above the parapet. And the reason we do that is because even Nigel then, very, very enthusiastic about all the players on that board. And quite rightly, quality all over the place. But the one reason I think people are happy to take on Phil Taylor these days is that we went through the most 180s market last night. He wasn't even mentioned, was he? His scoring power is terrific, but he does have to alter his technique slightly to hit these 177s or 174s in the treble 18. He really, if that's ever off even slightly, you've got a real chance of beating him. I think 3 to 4. As a bookmaker, you've got to be against him.
Well, if 3 to 4 is too short for you to back Taylor, but you fancy him anyway, let's see if we can find you another market where you might be able to have a punt. What about the name the finalists market? So I imagine Taylor prominent in the leading few prices, but the Butler can confirm it for us.
Yes, certainly. The name Taylor figures very heavily at the top of all these markets. He's the man, he's odds-on favourite, and surprisingly, any permutation with the name Taylor is the front runner in all four, the front four in all the betting. This is the final everyone wants to see, the showdown Taylor-Lewis. Lewis has never won a world championship with Taylor in the final. He's never beaten Taylor to get there. Taylor's always not gone out of the way, and he's won the championship. He's picked up the mantle after Taylor's got beat. This is his day of destiny. Lewis wants to play Taylor in a major championship final to establish himself as the #1 player, and that is what all the companies that are sponsoring this event want to happen. They want to see a Taylor-Lewis final. I remember when Sky first took on the darts, and whenever Taylor played Barneveld, it was 20 times more being bet on the game than any other match. And this is what they want, the Taylor-Lewis rivalry, the old guard against the new guard in a major championship final. It hasn't happened, but I really do think this can happen. I think Lewis will get to the final. He looks very, very strong, and I think Taylor will get to the final, and I think Lewis will beat him in the final. I think that can happen, and I can see why that's the favourite. I like Jenkins. I said each way could be a value. 10-1 Jenkins, but he's got to get past Lewis. I think if Lewis gets off to a start against anybody, he will beat them. But the thing is, if you get to sort of the nitty-gritty game against Lewis, his scoring goes off the wader, he misses his doubles, and you've got a chance. But this is what everyone wants to see. Taylor-Lewis, and A.G. Lewis wants it as well. He's never met him in a major final. He's always won World Championship where Taylor's gone out early doors, and that is what everyone wants to see, and that is the market leader at just bigger than 2-1. And if you back your odds on, you say you like your 10 on shots and all that kind of stuff. I spoke to a very good punter today, and he said to me his best ever bet in his life was 20 grand on Usain Bolt at 10 on to win the last Olympics.
Well, he's got bigger kahunas than me, is all I can say. That's quite interesting that Taylor's obviously at the head of that market. I suppose if that final was the jackpot versus the power, there'd have to be something very good Olympic-wise to knock it off the ratings, because everyone will be watching it. And I presume, from a bookmaking point of view, from your point of view, there'd be more bets laid on that kind of final than probably if it was Taylor versus a lesser player.
Well, definitely. I mean, and like Nigel says, you can really kind of sell that game, can't you?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't need any selling. Quality players, a little bit of rivalry, obviously, both from the Potter East, both from the Stoke area. He used to be his mentor, all that kind of stuff. And Jackpot, frankly, 2-time world champion as well, doesn't need to sell himself too hard now. But assuming we haven't laid them too heavily getting there, obviously that would be the difficult thing. But most of the money, again, with darts is match by match, leg by leg.
Yeah.
That kind of in-play sport really lends itself. We spoke last night about bookmakers suspending quite quickly. That's just the way it goes with the speed of the game. But I do think that the likes of Wade and Lewis on their day, very much a match for Phil Taylor. And I think that the price discrepancy for me is too much. He consistently proves us wrong, but I still think it's there. I used to say about James Wade, a very good front runner. Same with Adrian Lewis. If it hadn't been for that guy opening the door and the air conditioning going off in the World Championship, Wade would have beaten him there. But Lewis has shown now he can come back from behind as well. So yeah, they're the two guys. Obviously, he could beat Taylor. The most likely final, as the Nige points out there. 21-10, Taylor Lewis.
Let's have a look at tonight's matches. We know Taylor is in action, of course, but just briefly going back to that 20s on scenario, Bet Butler. I mean, the one problem I would have with that bet in that market, as we saw what happened at the World Championship, in that Bolt was disqualified for a full start. You only need one these days, and he's not even taking part in the race. And at 20s on, I'm sorry, I can't take the risk. But anyhow, tell us what the matches are tonight.
Yeah, just sorry, at one point, but at that time when he backed the 10 on there for 20 grand, he did say to me that there was 2 full starts only coming to the World Championship, and that was his reasoning. Anyway, just tonight, talking about odds-on shots, do you want to back Phil Taylor at 12-1 now? There'll be punters out there saying he's the greatest 12-on shot in the world. I think White played quite well the other night against Vincent van der Voort. Vincent van der Voort. I love that. I tell you what, I fancied him to do well, Vincent van der Voort, but he just got mullered by White. He played really, really well. Average 96. Very, very good average. Very good scores. Hit a lot of doubles as well. And as Bobby George says, your trebles for your show, but your doubles earn your dough. And that's Ian White. Here he hit a lot, very high percentage. 17-2. 12 on Taylor. Will you take this Taylor on? When Stanley backs it, this will probably, despite Taylor being there, you'll see a lot of money on the exchanges on this game because everyone will be laying Taylor or backing Taylor. So this will have a huge amount of money traded on. But as far as Sporting Bet and all the other bookmakers, this is where they'll see much more money because it's much more even. 10-11 even money. Punters sitting there having a bet, flicking over from the football tonight when GB draw 0-0. Got a load of readies in their pocket and won't have a get on this game here. When Stanley, Chris Graham's tipped him up all the way through the competition. I can't see that. I think he's going to go quite well. He looked very, very good against Gary Anderson the other day, but Gary Anderson, his bottle went. Completely and utterly bottle went. Ronnie Baxter, coming towards the end of his career. I think Winstanley could win this game at 10-11. I think this is a very interesting game. But the interesting thing for me is there'll be more money bet with this fixed odds than anybody else. And this one here will be an exchange punters thing. But let's have a little thing. When the punter goes off air tonight, let's ring up all our bookmakers and have a few quid on Phil Taylor to light the Olympic flag. I see if we can get him in the betting at 25-1. Just imagine it. 5 of us all ring at the same time. On 50 quid on Phil Taylor. We can make Phil Taylor favourite to light the Olympic flag come 8:30 tonight. Let's get on. Throw the dart. Bang. Lights up.
Yeah, it's classic, isn't it? It's what they did in Barcelona with an arrow, but as I say, Taylor could do it, as you say, with a dart. That'd be superb. It's quite nice times, isn't it? This late action, which doesn't really clash with anything. As Nige says, the football will be finished, so you can concentrate on this.
Yeah, great point. It's a really great point, actually, and that's why darts, again, you know punters, when even racing finishes and the football finishes 9:30, the proper punters out there still scouring round, Trev, and what they've got it laid on the plate for them, haven't they? They've got Phil Taylor to look forward to, leg by leg, 180s in each leg, and that when Stanley backs the match, coin flip, perfect for in-play betting as well.
So don't back Spirig. Oh, sorry, do back Spirig, I should say. This is what we've learned tonight. Back Spirig in the triathlon, don't back Team GB in the football, and back either Phil Taylor or me to light the cauldron. We will know tomorrow, because it's going to happen at about, well, sometime after 9 o'clock, but not before the punter hits your screens at 7. Until then, thanks to us, thanks to the Bet Butler, thanks to you for watching. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.